I have another video that shows all of my hardware, all the equipment that I have in my kit as part of what I take to set, both on location and in a studio. And I thought I would show all of the apps, or I should say some of the apps that I use on my iPad to make script supervising easier. And when I say easier, I really mean most of the duties that bog us down, the things like the accounting and so on. I like to have something that helps me deliver those things, all my reports, and collates them, but I still don't like to have my face in a screen. I like to be watching the action that's going on so that I can take my notes properly and advise the director and the DP properly. So these apps are ones that I use. I do not work for any of the companies. They just happen to be what I have found works for me. And most people, when they move from pen and paper to more digital methods, they try to find what works for them, and usually something that mimics their own work when they work traditionally pen and paper. So the first app that I use is one called Movie Slate 8. And Movie Slate 8 is one that is really great because it is so customizable. There is a little bit of a learning curve with it, but it is a database system that allows collating of forms and so on. So anything that you enter can be put into an editor's log and a progress report so easily. And it also uses a PDF based system so that you don't have to use Final Draft or Select or anything like that. It can go right in as a PDF and you can line it just the same way. So that's really great. The next one that I have is ScriptE. And ScriptE is a system that is, again, a database system. You can line your scripts, you can do your progress reports, you can do editor's logs, you can do time code logs, etc. And there are many people who use it, and I happen to use it on shows that if I'm alternating with a script supervisor who also uses ScriptE, it's easy to share files between us. There are some drawbacks to it. I don't really love what it looks like, and it's also hard to work with actors when you can't show them a script that looks exactly like their script. But it does do breakdowns really well, and it spits out information quickly, which is very nice. The other one is one that's new to me, but has been around for a little bit, and it's getting more friendly to script supervisors, is Scriptation. And this is a real game changer for me. It looks exactly like pen and paper, only on a screen, and you have the ability to line the script and put in lots of different documents. You could work with your breakdown at the same time. You can create layers so that the notes that you put on, let's say you put on your lines, you line your script and you put on those kinds of notes, but you could put that on a layer, and then all your continuity notes could be on a different layer, and you don't have to send a PDF to your post-production people with every layer of notes. I think that's one of the most brilliant things, and it works really easily with your Apple Pencil, and that's what I use on the tablet. So those three are ones that are very specific to script supervisors. Movie Slate not as much, but it's very customizable for script supervisors. The next apps that I'm looking at is just one, and it is specifically for script supervisors, and that is ScriptCalc. And ScriptCalc is really fantastic. If you're working pen and paper, it helps you calculate eighths of pages, and it helps you calculate time. And I use it even when I'm working in other digital methods, because I can go in and do the math very quickly by adding up how many eighths we need to credit for the day, or how much cumulative time that we've done for the day. It adds those up very quickly and helps me with running time and also how much we owe. It's a great little tool, ScriptCalc. It is not specifically designed for an iPad, so it has to be shown in a portrait mode on iPad and increased in size because it's really for your iPhone or an iPod Touch. But that's the way I use it. I don't really use it on the iPad. I use it on a smaller device so that I can transfer the information over. The next apps are ones that are used to communicate with other people on set. And the first one is QTake Monitor. QTake Monitor is a way to get image, video, and use your iPad or your phone or iPod Touch or tablet so that you can see the picture. And this depends on VTR sending you the image over a wireless system. So it's an app that allows you to do that. You can do screenshots, screen grabs, I should say, of what images you are, and you can see up to 4 cameras at one time, which is very nice. But QTake has to be the system that VTR is using for you to use that. Then the next one is Vuer, and Vuer is the same kind of thing, only it works with a Teradek system. So QTake works with QTake, and Vuer works with Teradek. So it's basically the same thing. The only difference is the ability to take screen grabs is a little bit different. Where on QTake Monitor, you can just tap the image with 2 fingers, and it will save to your camera roll. On Vuer, you actually have to press a button, and you actually have to go to a second set of menu in order to get that ability. And you have to press that button in order to get screen grabs, and then you have to choose which camera you're going to do. I'm not a script supervisor who does a lot of screen grabs, and I do not put them in any of my reports. They're for me. But if you do want that function, it's in there. The next app is one that you also have to use with another department, and they have to be using it too. And that is Zoe Log. And that is a digital way of doing your camera reports. So if you need to circle takes with your second AC, you can both be on Zoe Log, and that allows you to do it without having to use paper. So that's a nice thing to be able to do. I've done systems where a document was on like Google Drive or something like that, and that was fine too, but each system seemed different. I think with Zoe Log, it's getting much more familiar so that several productions might use the same thing, and I really like Zoe Log. It's great. The only thing I don't like about it is that there is a subscription with it, and haven't we all been subscriptioned out? So much money all the time, but that is what it is, and that's what Movie Slate 8 has a subscription to, but that's the way things go. Another one of the apps is going to be Utilitycom, and Utilitycom is when you're working in a studio job, like a live to tape job, you often have to talk to other departments through your headset. And what Utilitycom is like what we used to have when we had all the flip switches or the buttons where you spoke to different people on radio on the intercom, but through your headphones and your mic. But now it's on an app, and it has a dial that you can go to the different channels of who you need to speak to, and it spins actually much like those original iPods did, where you have that dial, only it's on the screen, and you probably will have to, we'll be seeing more people using that to communicate. I think it's great, and it works very quickly. So that's that. So those are all apps in order to work with other departments on set. The next ones that I have here are more productivity apps that are used by many people in other industries. But if you're developing your own forms or that kind of thing, they can be really great. And I happen to use these ones because I'm familiar with them across different platforms. But Microsoft Word, I have progress reports, lunch reports. I almost always do my lunch reports on a form in Microsoft Word. I think it's really very easy, and you can send it out as a PDF very quickly as well. I really like it for a lunch report because I don't want to put too much information on lunch reports. I just want to put how much we've accomplished as far as accounting wise, but I don't do much more than that. And so that's good. Excel, another good one. I use that for any of my forms that whenever I'm doing completely my forms. I like that for progress reports. I definitely love it for my breakdowns. It's really great to, because I've designed my columns a specific way and what kind of information and where I have it on the form. I really like doing my continuity breakdowns in Excel, which is good. And easy to change colors, all that stuff. It's really fantastic. This other one is Notability. Now, Notability is a handwriting app. What I love about it compared to other types of systems is the ability to create folders. And so I have folders for not just jobs, but like shooting day 1, day 2, day 3, etc. And being able to put in the call sheet plus the sides that I'm using for that day is really great. I love being able to just have it. And because it syncs with the cloud, I can go back to my laptop at the end of the day and all of those files and folders are in there as PDFs so that when I do full folders, and I often, yes, I still burn my projects onto either DVDs or onto an external drive to keep them for a year after a job completes so that if anybody asks, I do it. It's so nice to have all those folders I can just move over and it's great. I love that. Also, it can allow you to name each of those files perfectly. Oh, it's great. Scriptation has the same functions and the ability to have dedicated lining scripts and things like that, other script supervisor. So I may be using Notability less since I started using Scriptation, but it still is fantastic. I really love it. And then the other ones are Adobe Products, the PDF scan. I love that one because there's often times where we do have hard copies of things, or I'm subbing for somebody who is pen and paper, and so I'm working the way they work. So turning something into a PDF so that I can email it at the end of the day is great with this Adobe Scan. And then Acrobat as well is great for holding on to those files in the cloud. And part of this is that Word and Excel are part of my Microsoft Office subscription. So I can use those as all part of my subscription on my tablet or on my laptop. So it's all part of that same package. So I'm not really spending more for those. And the same with the Adobe products, because I use the full Creative Suite, and it's a monthly thing, and I get that on several different devices. So for the price of all of the things that I use, Illustrator and Photoshop and Animate and Premiere, all of that, I also get these Adobe products to use on my tablet. So that's why those choices are both familiar and they're good for me as far as being cost effective. This next one is one that I use, maybe nobody else needs to use this kind of thing because it's something really for DPs and directors, but it's Artemis. And I love Artemis because even though it's used as a viewfinder, I like it because when I do photos and I set it up, I can set it up with the lenses that are in the kit, if we're using primes or if we're on zooms and things like that. I can label each one. And when I do a continuity shot, that's when I do it up next to the camera, I can set what the lens is, and it really does match very nicely with what it is. So if I put it in at a 50mm lens and I take a picture right next to the camera, it's very close to what it is, and I like that ability. I like that, and I can also set it that information comes out on the picture, which is great. I love that. So I do a lot of photos using Artemis, and I really like it. It's mostly when we're on exteriors and wide shots. It's always a nice thing to be able to see that full thing. But also for stuff in studios, it's a good app. The other ones are when you're working with dailies, and it depends on what your production uses. I've worked on productions that use DAX, and DAX uses the app that comes from Clear. It doesn't say DAX on it, even though DAX is the system. It's by Clear, so the app is Clear, and this is how you could watch dailies if your production uses DAX. The other one is Pix, and Pix doesn't say anything on the app, anything that says Pix on it has this big 2, but that is the app for Pix, P-I-X, and if your show uses Pix, that's how you watch the dailies on that. So, you can talk to people, nobody likes DAX or Pix, because you got to change your password constantly, and logging in makes you crazy because you really need to see those dailies like in the moment sometimes, especially when you're doing like inserts for stuff. You want to pull up that footage, but that's what the industry has. So there you go. Use Clear for DAX and use the Pix app for Pix. That's what you got. And then the final ones that I have are cloud services. And cloud services like Google Drive. Google Drive gives you a lot of memory if you have other Google products. And Dropbox, which is kind of a standard. I know that industries all over use Dropbox, and you can pay for a lot more service. And then OneDrive, which almost nobody uses, but I do. And the reason I use it is because it is a terabyte of data. It's all part of the Microsoft Office products that I already pay for. And each user in my household, as part of that subscription, also has a terabyte of data. So I just don't want to pay for more storage. So I use OneDrive, but I also have the other ones to use because people share documents with those too. So those are the apps that I use. Isn't that great? Okay.